Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World. And I've tried Compress Rack a bit in the adventure, so I thought it was time to make the character review video. So that's what we're going to do in this one. We're going to have a look at how good Compress Rack is, like how much investment it requires, and also all the other things like the skills, the accessory equipment, the gear, ignition weapon, and report, as we did for all the other character review videos. So let's just get started by talking about how good this unit is. And I would say this guy is probably the third or fourth best SSR DPS. So we're ignoring the SSR pluses, just talking about SSR DPSs. Is right below Hiwa and Joaquin, probably around the same level as Akraptor, to be honest. But yeah, that's pretty much where I would rank him. But that's not all. I mean, that's not the priority I would give to this unit, and I'm going to say why in a second. So, this unit has two main issues. The first one is that his damage doesn't start high at the beginning of the battle. He has one thing that needs to proc and cannot proc at the beginning of the battle, and then he has two mechanics that he needs to stack before his damage can actually reach the intended or the high levels that this guy can reach. So that means that this guy needs to stay alive, and at the beginning of the battle, like the beginning phases of every fight are going to be more difficult. So that's problem number one. And problem number two is that this guy lacks survivability, which if you couple it with problem number one, is really nothing to ignore. I mean, this guy could die really easily. It doesn't have any survivability in his kit, and it wants to be used with like units like Evan or other really supports that are good at keeping units alive. But that's the other problem. We already have a yellow main DPS, which is stronger than him. So Evan is going to be run with her. You could use Compress Rack as a sub DPS. That's pretty much what I've been using him for. I also tried to use him instead of Hiwa, but I found that Hiwa most of the times was better. Well, pretty much all the time was better. So yeah, that's kind of the problem. If you have other DPSs that I didn't mention before, like Kunran or Child and Dorsey, they can have a team around them and they will work. This guy will pretty much need the same team that Hiwa needs, but is weaker than Hiwa. That's the problem, guys. I don't know if I could explain it correctly or if you understood what I meant, but that's pretty much why I wouldn't recommend him as a third or fourth DPS units. That's also the same reason why I wouldn't recommend a Craptor. A Craptor starts off better than this guy, doesn't need a lot of time to scale, but still is kind of weak in survivability, and he should counter Zahard because he is red and Zahard is green, but he kind of has a difficult time staying alive. So yeah, not the best of choices. I must say, Hiwa and Joaquin are obviously the first two units you should go for. Then we'll go for Kunran and Sheldon Dorsey for the reasons I mentioned before. And then maybe Compress Rack. And yeah, instead of a Craptor, you will want to go for Viol 3 green. That's pretty much what I would do. But yeah, enough for this. Let's just say that this guy is a main DPS. So in terms of dupes, he will need at least 3 red for him to perform as intended. But it's definitely better to have him at Rainbow 5 like every main DPS. Those should be your focus for the most part. So definitely recommended to take him to Rainbow 5. Now let's have a quick look at the skills to see if there is anything to add to what we already said in the first impression video. So yeah, let's just get started with the passive. The first part, still not clear to me. It's just saying that this attack is single target. Doesn't matter if the spear visually goes through other enemies, is not going to damage them. That was pretty much obvious to everyone, I would say. I don't know why they had to specify it, but it's fine. The additional damage is really good. The 200% attack when a basic attack crits is good. So nothing to say there. And then there is the Untermark portion of the passive, which means whenever an enemy is below 40% is going to be marked. If there is more than one enemy below 40%, the one with the lowest HP percentage or lowest HP is lowest HP. It doesn't say percentage, but yeah. The one with the lowest HP is going to be chosen. Perfect. And Rock is just going to attack that target. Fine. Then we have the buff. This buff is quite nice. The problem is that the duration is low. It's only 8 seconds and you're getting 40% physical pierce. Not bad. You're also going to get the status effect immunity. There is also a second portion of this skill, and that is whenever you're hit by a status effect while being immune to them, you're going to regen 160 energy. The problem I have with that is that you don't really want to get hit in general. If you are, you're already losing out on the L set. And if you are getting hit, most crowd controls come with damage. So you're just going to probably die or be reduced to really low HP, at which point you won't care as much about the energy. At the very least, that's true for Adventure. If you're in PvP and you're against like a Kunagero, when Kunagero casts the special skill, it's going to proc this effect at least like 5 times and it's not going to kill you. So I would say really good, but it will depend a lot on the matchups. I would say in Adventure, you're not going to benefit a lot from the second part of the skill. Then we have Power Shock. This one on paper is awesome, but I would say is even like is really useless, to be honest. You're only going to target one unit. The damage is negligible, is 400%, fine. And you're going to stun them for 2 seconds. Again, quite a short duration. The issue I have with this is the second portion of the skill, and that is you're always going to crit against enemies hit by the skill for 8 seconds. And that's pretty much unnecessary. You're always going to crit anyway, especially if you run the slot 5 with crit rate, which I am running right now. So really unnecessary. It is really awesome on paper. I was really excited about it, but you don't really need it. Then we have the special skill. The special skill has quite low scaling. 1100 for just the base damage is around like SR level, I would say, is not SSR le level scaling for sure. And the additional damage you get when the target is below 40% is fine. You get to 1500, which is better, but again, nothing exaggerated. So yeah, the scaling without proccing anything else is low on this unit, so it requires to stack the effects that we're going to see in a second. The AoE on this skill is good. It can hit a lot of enemies, but again, the damage could have been better. If we look at the exclusive equipment now, we can understand a few more things. So here you're going to get already 20% crit rate, 10% from plus 40, and 10% from level 1. So 20% here, plus 20% from the gear, plus the 40% from slot 5, and something else here and there. This guy really gets to 100% crit rate like nothing. So that's why I was saying that the thing about the power shocker, I think is called skill, you don't really need that. And again, level 1, really awesome, 10% rate and 30% crit damage is a really nice buff, and it's available since the start of the battle. Then we have level 2 and level 3. Those two effects are the ones that require some stacks. Level 2 is quite quick to stack after 5 basic attacks, pretty much. 6 if you are lucky, you're going to get the 5 physical pierce stacks. So 50% physical pierce, really, really good. And level 3 is a bit more tricky. You need to cast bare minimum 2 special skills, but chances are someone from the enemy team is going to die. Uh, Probably even before the first special skill, depends on how your team is structured, but let's say the first skill hits all 5 enemies, you have 5 stacks. Then the second one, probably 2 or 3 enemies are already dead, so you're only going to hit 2 to 3 enemies. So you might need 3 to 4 special skills to fully stack this effect. So yeah, the stacking here is quite low. The boost is not bad. 50% additional crit damage coupled with the 30% here is 80% total. Really, really good, but it's a bit unfortunate that's slow to stack. Then we have level 4 effect. This one is also really good, but it requires an enemy to be below 40%. It means you're not going to get the additional swiftness and attack active since the beginning of the fight. And that's another thing that contributes to the fact that this guy is not strong at the beginning, requires a bit of time to stack and to proc certain effects. So yeah, that being said, let's just talk about the gear as well. For the gear, uh, if you're like in the beginning stages of the game or in the middle, like pre-floor 28, I would say, you probably don't have a lot of resources to spare, so you should focus only on slot 1 and slot 2. If you are later on, you're probably like me, you can just upgrade everything and not care about it at all. So just upgrade all the pieces. So yeah, focus on slot 1 and 2 first, and then if you have spare resources, go for 3 and 4 as well. Nothing else to say there. Then we have the carrier. For the carrier, I would say definitely you want to go for the L set because this guy has some things that proc with the create some basic attacks, so you want to do as many basic attacks as possible. Then for the main stats, I would say slot 4, slot 5, you want crit rate, and then you don't want crit rate in any other piece, pretty much. In the substats, you will want to focus with accuracy, physical pierce, and crit damage, pretty much. Don't look at my pieces, they're not the best, but still, they are quite okay. This one is terrible, but okay. Slot 4, you want the crit damage main stat, because this guy stacks a lot of crit, so you want to benefit also from this 40% crit damage increase. And the substats are always the same. Accuracy, the physical pierce, and the crit damage. Well, in this case, you cannot run crit damage. You could have some additional crit rate just in case you are like below the cap. I doubt it, but you never know. And yeah, again, the substats, accuracy, pierce, damage. Nothing strange. Also, the other pieces are pretty much the same. So yeah, that was pretty much all you wanted to focus on in the ignition weapon. And if you look at my stats, I already have 98.92% crit rate, and I'm missing the 2% from here and 4 levels here. So I will go way above the 100% crit rate. That's why I don't really care about the guaranteed crit that I get from the other, uh, like from the skill. You could run the physical pierce here, to be honest, because that would help a bit with the early damage, let's say. But I don't know if it's worth losing the quicker stacking. And here I could already get to 31% with below average pieces, I would say. You could definitely stack a lot more pierce than I have here. Like you can see 4, 5, 11. Okay, this one is not too bad, and another 10. But these 3 pieces are terrible, so you can definitely get more than 40, 45% if you're lucky pierce, even without the main stat here. So I would still say go for crit rate. Yeah, that was all also for the ignition weapon part. Let's talk about briefly the report, also because this guy is a main DPS and you want the additional 100 accuracy for sure. So level 6 is pretty much mandatory. And that's all for this video, I would say. If you have any doubts or if you don't agree with my evaluation of this guy, please let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!